A little overcast today. I wonder if there are rain clouds coming, so that's good. Maybe that'll keep this short. This is a single book review. Much in the zeitgeist, the booktube zeitgeist. I am going to do a single book review. It is a mystery book. I'm looking for the photos that I had queued up, but now they're not queued up anymore. In one of my previous videos, I discussed maybe stacking reviews, do 2 or 3 at a time. But this one, I don't really have anything to go with it. In fact, originally I wanted to do the book and then see the movie that was made of it. Let me go back in time. In 1972, there was a TV movie that was much promoted, and we were all into watching it. I would have been 11 years old. It was called Crawl Space. It was based on a true story. And it was about this kid living in a crawl space of a house. And the couple that lives there interacting with the kid and drawing him out and adopting the kid, and terrible things happen. I don't remember the story that well, but it was a big deal. There was a subgenre for a while. It still goes on. There's still movies that come out about a creepy person living in the house, right? Black Christmas is kind of this same, it's exactly the same story. There's a creepy person living in the attic. In Black Christmas, the film, they made the choice of never showing where the person came from. He just starts killing the sorority girls for no reason, which makes for a very good horror movie. Anyway, so that came out in 1972. In 1973, there was the novel that I'm going to discuss now was published. And it was not it would have been written before that TV movie was aired. I'm not saying this is a rip-off of that. In fact, it's quite different. But it was written and published in 1972. And it was made into another one of these creepy crawly movies, TV movies, in 1973. So it was definitely a thing. I never saw that movie. I don't know how well it did. I was going to watch it, but I decided not to. But anyway, that's enough suspense, I guess. The book we're talking about is Bad Ronald. Bad Ronald by John Holbrook Vance. This is the original cover. You can tell it's the original cover because it's a signet paperback. They're not around anymore. It blurbs with the impact of the Boston Strangler, so it's definitely trying to tie in with a popular book, movie property of the time. Very creepy cover. John Holbrook Vance. Does that name ring a bell? You might know him better by his nickname. And without his middle name, he was Jack Vance. I think people who watch this channel, know who Jack Vance is. He is one of the greatest science fiction and fantasy writers of all time. Creator of The Dying Earth and many other series. I've read almost all of his science fiction over the years in different chunks, and a lot of his fantasy. This book was known, this book was practically a cult novel. Or I don't know why I'm saying practically. It's now back in print. Everything's back in print from Jack Vance because of a series called the Vance Integral Editions, I believe they're called, where everything is published by a foundation, a group run by his family, make sure he stays in print. This was a cult novel for very long. It was hard to get hold of. Now, of course, you can get it on ebooks, like everything. Like anybody whose estate is taken well care of, you can get all their old books. What I didn't know, and what I found out just the other day when I went to look for this book on Amazon, is he wrote a ton of mysteries. He wrote a ton of of non-SF fantasy books, mostly in the, according to his biography, there's a good biography in this edition of Bad Ronald that I have on ebook. I'm not sure that's the cover or not. There's a very detailed short biography of Vance, talks about his career. Anyway, this period in his life, he was writing only non-fantasy and science fiction books for about a decade. A bunch of them are mysteries. A couple of them, one is described as just kind of like a P.G. Wodehouse-esque idyll. I think that's called Bird Island or something. I'll put the correct title in the credits. In the description. But that's from the movie. See, it's a popular enough cult movie that they even did a Blu-ray of this 1 hour, 15-minute TV movie from '73, which I hear is not that faithful. The book is very disturbing, much more disturbing than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a creepy college book where a kid maybe does some bad things and it starts out in the first chapter. It's definitely set up that way, where this young guy, I'm not going to do the whole plot, of course, but this young guy, Ronald, lives with his mother. His mother is pretty domineering. He's a strange kid. His father is not in the picture. His mother agreed to no child support if the father would just move away and not bother them anymore. So she kind of controls him. Not in all that creepy of a way, actually, at least at first. He is a strange kid. He is lusting after this cheerleader girl at school. That's not so strange, but it's his mentality. You get a lot of his inner monologue and stuff in the first couple chapters, all through the book. But and he's not badly treated. And the cliche way to do this would be make him be the outcast, like. And it is a similar book to, for example, Willard, the book Ratman's Notebooks, which the movie Willard was based on. Shut-in kid, crazy mother's kind of weird. Carrie is another one, sort of in this sort of high school outcast, becomes a creeper kind of theme. He's this girl that he's got a crush on. I think she's a cheerleader. She's a cheerleader type anyway. She's a high status girl. And he's just like a regular nobody kid. He keeps asking her out though, and she's not like humiliating him or anything like that. That's what I thought was interesting. Personally, she's like, I have something else to do this weekend. I can't go out with you and stuff. And he seems to lack situational awareness. He goes over to her house. This is still all in the first chapter. He goes over to, or the first two chapters. He goes over to this girl's house. She's got a big pool party with all her jock friends and everything. And he knocks on the door, and her mother answers. And he's like, "Hi, is forget her name, Carrie here?" And she's like, "Yeah, going back." So he goes back there, and they're like, "Oh, hello." He's wearing all his clothes. They're all in their party, swimsuits and stuff, and having fun. He's just sitting there, kind of thinking how he's realizing he's really basically a superior person to them all. Kind of like that meme of the guy standing in the corner with the party hat. There's a couple dancing, and the guy standing by the pool, and he's saying something in the meme like, "No one knows how important I am," or something like that. He's just kind of he's that kind of guy. Then he does something that is so unspeakable that it really threw me for a shock, and it's a testament to Vance's writing that I kept reading, because it's a turn very very early on in the book that sets up the premise that he's not just a misfit or understood or anything. He is pure evil. He's Bad Ronald. Bad Ronald is not ironic. The title is not ironic unless it's an understatement. He's a very bad person. He is as bad a person as you can imagine, anybody being. So that's the kind of book you're in for. So it's in that disturbing classics mode of it's even more disturbing, I think, than Let's Go Play at the Adamses, for example. It's a very dark book. I was kind of shocked I hadn't heard. I suppose not. At the time this book was written, anything before the PC era, anything before the 80s, when I guess probably American Psycho came out and people like, oh my God, this is horrible, that no one should be allowed to read this book. But before then, before American Psycho, Bret Easton Ellis, I think they're late 80s, right? Or early 90s. Just when the book came out, not the movie, things were in books that people took in stride that they would be shocked by now. You think of books like Lolita and Let's Go Play at the Adamses, which was not as famous as Lolita, but there was not this. There was not this. I don't want to call it moral panic, but there was not this extraneous kind of feeling as if the book's really happening. As if reading this book makes you complicit in the crimes of the obviously hateful, monstrous main character. So it's really, it was well received as a crime novel, but it's really a horror novel because of how dark it is. And so Ronald, because of this, has to hide in the basement of his Victorian house. This is they're in someplace I guess like San Jose or inland from there, someplace like that. There's a lot of references to the Bay Area. So he hides from the police. His mother is complicit in hiding him. These are people with no conscience, which is interesting from Jack Vance, especially because there is that thread in Jack Vance's other work of people that really don't have much of a conscience. A lot of people, a lot of times. There are some very ruthless characters in. What is the book? I think it's Port of Call. One of Vance's books. There's a guy who's going from planet to planet. He sets down a planet, meets a nice girl. She robs him. I'm not sure if he knows she's a prostitute or turns out she is. He thinks she's just friendly to him, but she robs him. And his response to this is go back to his ship. He gets a syringe out of supplies. He goes back. He finds her. He stabs her with the syringe and kills her, and then leaves the planet. Which I don't know. Call me a bleeding heart. It's a little bit excessive for stealing somebody's wallet, but so his characters can be very ruthless. Now, I'm not equating the moral value of Ronald and his mother to that character. They're much worse. It's clear that Vance is writing a book about terrible, horrible people who have no conscience, and it's that kind of book. So if you can handle that kind of stuff, it's very intense, it's very readable, it's unputdownable. Kind of maybe like Jack Ketchum. If you've read his horror books, like The Woman and other books, they're just so dark. It's really dark. It's much darker than I thought because I'd never heard it discussed. I always heard it discussed in terms of this guy who does something that he has to hide from, or his mother dies and he's living in a house. So anyway, he's hiding there. The mother dies. A new family moves in, and he's spying on the new family. And I won't discuss any more of the plot, except I would say the last couple chapters feel kind of rushed, is my only quibble. There's some revelations that, let me try and be vague here. There's some revelations to the innocent characters that I don't think they would take in the stride that Vance has them take it in as quickly as they do, but he's trying to wrap up the story. So it's a little rusted at the end, I think. And Vance, I believe, is better at getting inside the head of sociopaths than he is at anybody else in the book. But it is an incredible read. I don't know. Maybe if anybody watching this knows, I'm curious if it comes up on anybody's list of most disturbing books, because it is one of the most disturbing books I've read. What's maybe would keep it back from that is there are decent people in the book. The point of view is with the decent people. The villains are clearly villains, even though most of the page count is devoted to Ronald's point of view. It's clear that it's not making apologies for him or anything. He's not sympathetic at all. He's a monster. One keeps saying it. He's a monster on the level of, even beyond the level of Humbert or Hannibal Lecter, anything like that. I mean, Hannibal Lecter later in the series becomes like an anti-hero in some way. Or Dexter becomes like an he is an anti-hero because their victims are considered worse than them. That's not this kind of book. This is a book where evil nearly triumphs. Innocent people are destroyed, and so I guess in that sense it still takes place in the real moral universe that we all live in. And not in some kind of subversive kind of thing like Hog or something like that, where the sort of transgressive parts are the transgressive behaviors of certain people are some kind of are in some ways not excused, but somehow taken out of the normal moral hemisphere that we all want to live in, and that I believe we all do live in. It's not that. It's not a transgressive book. So maybe it doesn't show up on people's most disturbing books that way, but it is very disturbing. It is. There's scenes in it where you're like, oh God, no. Like in the best horror stories. So it's you don't want the people to suffer the way they suffer. So it's rough, but man, it is a thriller. If you like that kind of stuff, if you like Hannibal Lecter, if you like any kind of dark, really dark, extreme, visceral fiction, Bad Ronald is right up there with those. It's only a couple 100 pages long. I don't believe Jack Vance's other mysteries are like that. I think there's some straightforward mysteries, some other kind of books. He's a very eclectic writer. He wrote a couple of... All I had heard of before, recently, that he'd written that wasn't science fiction was Bad Ronald, and two ghost writing jobs on Ellery Queen. Apparently those were... extensively rewritten because they didn't conform to the Ellery Queen formula. So, and apparently on Jack Vance's website you can find your way towards his original Ellery Queen version. So I don't know that I would do that. I've never been able to read a real Ellery Queen novel. Never been able to complete one. It's just not my thing at all. I just don't like Ellery Queen. The TV series from the 70s was good, but I tried Ellery Queen, the series, and is very dull, in my opinion. So I probably won't read those. I did buy a couple other Jack Vance mysteries to see what they're like. So maybe I'll read those at some point, but I don't think he ever wrote anything else like Bad Ronald. And that is my reaction to that novel. Let me know if you've read it, or if you would consider reading it. It's an experience. Be ready if you do read it. Okay, talk to you later.